know the routine doesn't work. How are you this morning? How many of you did our team building yesterday? Have a good time? Yeah, so before I go any further on that, let me just tip my hat to Doug Moss, who literally puts all of those games together, choreographs them, in many respects builds those so that we can have a great time. And it's, I think it's always one of the highlights of leadership, is people get put on teams, come together as teams, excuse me. It was fun. I can't remember who the coach was, but I was talking to her, and she said, I lived in California for 4.5 years, down on the coast. I have never touched foot, or put my foot into the Pacific Ocean until now. You know, and then you about drowned me. But all good. Well, we've got a great day planned for you today, and it's going to be one on sharing best practices, insights, things you can do. But, you know, at the end of all of these pieces, as Michael shared yesterday, it's going to be the epiphanies that you have. It's going to be the solutions that you bring to this, that you build on, that create the solutions to where we're going and what we're doing. It was fun just to look at the wall last night. I talked to Alyssa Shoemaker this morning we're talking about rewards and recognition and how those line up with where we're going and what we're doing and how there's still a disconnect, and the recognition that we've got to tighten that so that we drive the right type of behavior to get the right types of results. And we know that we're not quite there yet, but we will get there, and many of those ideas will come from this group. As I sat backstage yesterday, I was watching Carl's presentation and Michael's presentation, and I've seen this slide a number of times. As Michael had talked about us going through all of these decks, obviously this was one of those. But it struck me as I looked at that, and there was the slide that was the comparative slide to other companies. Although I don't spend much time at all looking at other companies and looking over our shoulder and comparing to what other companies are doing, it does create some context. And as I looked at this line, I thought, you don't get to where we are without doing some things very, very right and being grounded in the right behaviors. And so as we look at what we're doing and where we go from here, the concept really is to throw everything away. It's to course correct, to do the gut check where we need to, and then say, where do we need to recourse correct or readdress our efforts and our attention. But as I sat backstage and looked at that, I thought, you know, that's a phenomenal growth. And each of you should really be proud, because that represents your fingerprints doing many things in a right way. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to do that. And my guess is that there will be these little bubbles, as little ups and downs, as Michael said, but it'll get better. So we're kind of family, or at least I consider you to be family. It struck me last night as I came back into the hotel. These events, I know are good for you. These events are good. They're good for me, and they're good for our team, because it is this opportunity where we get to come together and you reconnect, and you get to feel the goodness of people. And as I looked at many of the leaders that I was talking to, it just struck me again, man, we are in good hands. We've got good peoples. We've got this thing. And if there's ever anybody that I would want to fight the fight with, to pursue this mission with, it would be this group of people. And so for me, these events, this isn't about you right now. This is about me. Okay? And I mean this very seriously. These are good for me because I come and I get recharged. I get recommitted. It strikes me the responsibility that we have as a company to do the right things, to make the right decisions, to make sure that this is long-term and sustainable, because so many people are counting on this. And you represent families, and you represent organizations of people whose lives depend on this as well. So they depend on us, and they depend on your leadership. And again, it's good for me. Now, kind of as a family here, I want to share a little experience that I had last week that was a little bit sobering. So it's been busy, it's been stressful, been working hard, been traveling a lot, and I just wasn't feeling great. So Joette said to me, says, you should go into the doctor and see if everything's okay. Not a big fan of going into doctors. But ran in, went saw Dr. Tater, and he kind of did the check over, and he said, let's draw some blood, and we'll have the results back for you tomorrow. So I get a call from his office the next day, and he says, you need to come back in and bring Joette with you. And I thought, well, that's kind of weird. So Joette comes back in, we get to the doctor's office, and the receptionist comes down and says, he'd like to meet with Joette. And that's weird. So she goes in, and the doctor says to Joette, he said, look, Joette, I'm really scared about Jeff. He said, he's been working really hard, he's stressed out, he's been traveling, and I'm really nervous about where he is right now, kind of scared about it. And he says, but I think everything will be okay if there's some things that you do. He said, so here's what I'd recommend you do. He said, as he comes home every day, make sure you greet him at the door. Okay? Give him a big hug and give him a big kiss. Make sure that every night that his favorite meal's prepared. Okay? And that he just, and whatever you do, don't share any problems, any of your problems with him. Okay? Think it's all about him. Make sure that the TV's turned on to the best TV show, to the sports shows and the things that he likes. Okay? And massage his feet, give him back massages. And maybe most importantly of all, satisfy his every whim and desire. And if you'll do that over the next 6 to 9 months, I think you'll survive. She comes out, she says, let's go home. We get in the car and she's not saying anything, she looks really concerned. And I'm looking at her and I'm nervous as can be. I said, Joette, I said, what did the doctor say? And she just looks at me and says, you're gonna die. So I'm really not gonna die, okay? But not all those things have happened either. So, but from the standpoint of sometimes we come into the business, we get nervous and things feel pretty big and not everything's as healthy as it could be. But the solutions usually are right in front of us. And as Carl was talking yesterday about this concept of belief and about what's in the box, it made me think of a speaker, maybe some of you have heard of before. His name's Zig Ziglar. He's an old Southern boy. He's no longer living. He grew up in in Alabama, South Carolina, and he sold pots and pans and everything else. But he has a great talk where he's talking about the power of belief. And he's got a good buddy that comes to him and says, we're starving to death. I'm not selling any of these pots and pans. What's going on? So he sat down at his kitchen table and he started to tell him what he was doing. And Zig stops and he says, Bill, he says, I know that you don't believe in the product. You don't believe in the product, and I know you don't believe in the product. He goes, what do you mean? He says, I left my other company. He says, I came over here 4 or 5 years ago. I worked so hard to make this business work. And he stops him and he says, Bill, look what's on your stove. And Bill says, you mean that competitive set of cookware on my stove? And he goes, yeah, you don't even have our cookware on your stove. He says, well, he said, you know how it happens. He said, things that haven't been very good for us. As our car broke down, we've had to use cabs. My wife's been in the hospital. My kids have to go to the hospital. We need babysitters. We haven't been able to afford it. We don't have insurance. And he rattled off this great big list of reasons why he wasn't using their products. And then Bill said, or not Bill, but Zig makes this comment, this observation. He said, when you get into what he referred to as the short rows, those that are the close sales in his terminology, where people are on the fence, he says, what's going to happen is those people are going to say to you, well, my wife's sick, the kids are in the hospital, we don't have insurance, we have this issue, and this issue. And he said, deep down inside of you, because you don't use our products and really believe in our products, you're going to be saying, I understand where you're at. And then Zig Ziglar pulls out the punchline, which is this. He says, Bill, if you get nothing else from this, he says, know this, that selling is nothing more in the world than a transference of feeling. And as Carl was talking yesterday, it just hit me from the standpoint of believing what's in the box and using the box. And that belief comes from doing things, from being involved in our challenge groups and creating tremendous experiences for people that they'll want to be part of and they'll want to bring other people into that group. And that's where the belief is created. That's why when we talk about returning to the basics really is pressing play, drinking Shakeology every day. Doing those few things alone will create tremendous belief and confidence and courage. And the byproduct of that is there is a transference of feeling that comes from you to the people that you are around. And there is a congruence and an authenticity that works and that is real. And that's what we are trying to return to. Not that we're trying to return to, that we will return to. So I want to switch gears for a moment and talk a little bit about something I've learned over the last 20 years of my experience in this industry. And I want to talk a little bit what I'm going to refer to as the coach experience. And let me just set up the context behind this and the reason why I'm sharing this. As I've had an opportunity to watch people come into business and to grow and to take their journey, I've seen a pattern of what happens, of how they grow and sometimes how they stop growing and they disappear. And I share this with you because some people in this room, let me be really clear, are brand new in this business. And we've talked a little bit about stuff that's been going on the wall. Many people's business are just continuing to grow right now. That's their experience right now. Others are feeling some soft spots, and so people are in different places. But I share this to forewarn and for some of you maybe to give you a gut check, because if you know the enemy, and you can define what the enemy is, then you can create a strategy against the enemy. You can recognize it and know what to do if it's confronting you or if it's confronting your people, and you can help them with that. So this is just a little bit of the journey that happens. So, and I call this the coach experience. We have a brand new coach come in. This is on the growth side of the business. They're excited. They're enthusiastic about what the business is. We engage them in the 4 vital behaviors, and it's something that's new to them. They've never had experience with personal development before, or talking to other people. It gets them out of their comfort zone. But they get excited about this because there's new growth, and they're starting to realize what their potential is. And they get excited, and they're positive, and they're in this high energy position in their business. And as you all know, there then gets to be a point where we tell them, as you're investing in your business, there's always going to be a delayed response before results come, because you have to pay the price first and the results will come. And that may be 2, 3, 4 months. And as the bigger rewards in the business come, sometimes that might be years later. But the investment we think is worth it. And we tell our new coaches that. We create that expectation for them. And that's just part of the business plan. And then what happens in our business, and I compress these a little bit, is that there oftentimes is an exceeding of the expectations. If I were to go around the room here, and where most of you started in the business, you'd probably say, I just wanted to earn this. I just wanted to do this. I just wanted to pay off this bill. Wanted to be able to pay for my product. And then over time, what happened was, you caught a vision and you saw, as a result of your efforts and your investment and your growth and your passion and your belief and your learning, that really the results that you were getting were exceeding your wildest expectations. And you're going places and doing things that you would never expect to be able to do really in your entire life. And most people kind of relate to that. I mean, I think even being here, I pinch myself going out here. And so that happens in the business, and that's a pretty cool thing. And then we start to refer to these people as leaders. Leaders of other people, because they brought other people into the business. Shalane uses this term every once in a while. They says, and these people are accidental leaders. They almost trip into leadership, and we start calling them leaders. And oftentimes we don't look at ourselves as a leader. But that's also one of the strengths of this business, is it starts to put people in a position for growth. And then we do something that's very appropriate. We start to celebrate their success, okay? And we recognize, it's one of the 4 vital behaviors, that we recognize the benchmarks and the things that these individuals have been able to accomplish. And we recognize the right things about their business. And that's such a key element to what we do. But there's some pieces about celebrating success, and I'm going to introduce you to a counterfeit to celebrating success in a moment. Celebrating success, when you think about it, is a temporary thing, okay? It recognizes that because of my efforts, I've been able to do this. I'm going to celebrate, and then I'm going to move on to do the things that continue to create, or that created success for me in the first place. And we do that. And if people that do that and continue to then re-engage in the behaviors that brought them to the dance, that created the success for them in the first place. They continue to move on and realize sustained success in their business. And those are the individuals that create a business that will last a lifetime, if you will. They celebrate their successes, and then they go back to the things that created fundamental success for them. They never leave that. Here's the counterfeit to that. And here's what I've seen here, and I've seen it in other businesses as well. And this is the enemy, okay? This is the enemy, is that we have those people that not only celebrate success, but then they begin to embrace success. And there's a distinction there. As Covey said, he was talking about counterfeits. Embracing success is hanging on to it, not letting go of it. Celebrating past behavior that is no longer creating current successes in your business. It starts to become inwardly focused versus outwardly focused. It doesn't focus on the people that helped you get there or the behaviors that helped you get there. What it is, it's about you. And you're unwilling to go back and focus on the things that are most important. That then leads to something where they lose focus. I just kind of talked about some of the areas where they lose focus on the core elements of the business, because they're looking about, here's what I achieved, here's when I achieved it, here's the organization that I achieved, and or that I built. They move into management mode, and management mode is a counterfeit for leadership. When people will look at management mode, when they slip into management mode, here's what it sounds like, and this will ring, I know, maybe ping a few people. And this doesn't come just from Beachbody, it comes from other companies I've been part of. The yellow flag for me is when someone starts to say, I am now working deep in my organization. Okay? I'm focusing primarily deep in my organization. That sets up a yellow flag for me that says, I've removed myself from phase one, out of the core elements of this business, and now I'm not doing those things that will continue to create sustainable success. Now, let me be very transparent. In larger businesses, you do have to spend more time managing and leading. One of the greatest leaders I knew out of a different company, had the biggest organization in this company, had created long-term success. His model was, I always reserve 50% of my time to work my personal business, to be personally sponsoring, developing myself, and 50% on the other part of the group. But I know that I can never afford to get out of, if you want to call it phase one, the vital behaviors of the business. Delayed response again hits, because once you move into management mode, what happens is you don't necessarily quickly see your business starting to attrit or to weaken. You don't necessarily see your leaders underneath you immediately starting to say, no, I'm not as engaged as I used to be. They'll kind of run for a while, but they're watching you, they're duplicating you, and they start to soften in their business. And so the first, second, third, fourth month, nothing may happen. You may continue to realize the same success, that delayed response kicks in. And then there's an attitude change. And the attitude changes sound something like this. It focuses from what's right about the business, what's right about the opportunity, what's right about the company, because things are starting to go south on them. It starts to become, the products aren't right, the company's not right, the compensation plan's not right, my people aren't doing things, my team's not doing the right things, and the problem becomes out there. Stephen Covey talked about that the other day, and when the problem is out there, that thinking itself is the problem. And so we then get to this moment of truth part in our business. And this is a very real, tough, gut check moment of truth. And hopefully most people never get there, and this is why I tell you this whole piece up front, is they have to make a decision whether they're going to re-engage in the business or disengage. And those that choose not to re-engage in the business will take everything that they had, and they will sadly, and I say sadly, and with all the tenderness that I can conjure up, okay? Because they sadly fade away out of the business. They've lost something that they worked so hard for, the relevance that they created, the sense of contribution that they've created in the business, the people's lives that they've touched, and they lose it. And it's a tragic thing because there's so many people who have done so many great things. But it is a choice, and there's accountability around that. The hard part, and hopefully people never get there, is the idea to re-engage in the vital behaviors and the vital process that we've talked about, and to get back and balance your business to the pieces that continue to create success. Now, Michael held up his his stack of papers, part of what we looked at, part of what the interpretation of some of that was, is as we track some of the leadership activities, some of the productivity, some of that was, not all of it, but some of it was a reflection of, we've had some people that have softened in their business. This is not a call, by the way, right now to say, go out and work harder to this group. Go out and work harder and harder and harder. But if your business isn't where you want it to be right now, work hard at figuring out what it's not. Put a gut check. Don't look at the guy beside you. Look at these steps and say, where am I in this life cycle? Okay? And use it as an opportunity. I am a huge believer in confronting the brutal facts of the business, of where we are. Because the good thing about that, even though you may not like where you are, what you're doing, when you know what that is empowering, because then you can deal with what the problem is, and you can start to create strategies and execute against that to start to rebuild your business. And it really is centered around what we were talking about these last 2 days, around the vital process, which are driven by the 4 vital behaviors. I want to end with this story. Many of you will remember DeWitt Jones. He ended his presentation with a story about, he was hired by an organization that said, I want you to go up and take some pictures of some great scenery. And so he went up into the mountains, up into the fields, and he was supposed to take a picture of this field filled with dandelions. And he got up there and he just wasn't feeding it. Didn't have the energy, he didn't have the excitement about it. He said the light was off a little bit, and he just wasn't in the mood to really, really do it. And he thought, you know what, I'll come back another day. He comes back several days later, and what had happened is the field of yellow had gone to seed, and the opportunity was lost for him at first glance. And then he thought, no, there's still opportunity here. There's opportunity to do something good here. And he tied it around the concept of putting yourself in the place of highest potential. And he started thinking, what can I do with what I've got if I start to work it again? And he started to look at things at different angles. And he got down on his hands and his knees, and he looked at the light, and he looked at all of the resources that he had available to him. And then he got this picture, which tended to be this award, turned out to be an award-winning picture because he put himself in the place of highest potential by looking at things differently, by willing to get down on his knees, by willing to stay in there, to hang in there, to not be discouraged by what he saw at first. I think this is a little bit where we are right now in our business. I think we are in a place and an opportunity to put ourselves in the place of highest potential, to do something that's absolutely remarkable in our business, if we'll work it, if we'll get down on our knees, if we'll bring the solutions. And as I've heard people talking, I sense that is what's happening right now. And that's exciting. Personally, I want you to know, as I started out with that little joke, I'm not dying, okay? And I'm not dying for one reason, because I've invested too much into life. I've invested too much into the people that I care about. There's people that I love. There's a mission that I have in my own life. And I'm not done yet. I've got too much to live and too much to give still in my life. And similarly, Beachbody is not going anywhere. And it's for the very same reasons. We have a strong mission. We have a strong vision. We're confident about where we're going and about what we're doing. We believe that what is in that box is life-changing. And we also believe that this group, our coaches, is the most powerful partnership that we can create to communicate what that belief is and to form the strongest connections with people who are looking for help and need our help. And I can't think of a better group of people to partner with than this group. So I'm excited about the rest of the day, about the solutions that are going to come and the results that together we're going to create as we figure this thing out. Again, thank you. This is good for me, and I hope it's good for you. And with that,